Welcome to In the Loop podcast. I am your host, Jordan Jo Hollabaugh, and I love all things breakaway roping. Welcome back to our third annual 15 Days of Breakaway Roping series. In this series, we talk all things breakaway roping for 15 straight days, y'all. We interview the top 15 in the world that are making the national finals rodeo. We start from number 15 and we go all the way to number 1. We talk all things breakaway roping, rodeo strategy, horses, ropes, you name it, we talk about it. And one thing I love about this year is these girls have evolved. It's raw, it's real, it's uncut, and we are just so thankful to be able to do this. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our partners who make this happen, and to every one of you who is listening. Thank you for listening. If these episodes make a difference, please go and share it with your friends. Help us grow. Y'all, we're able to be here because of our listeners, because of our fans and supporters. And again, I just want you to know, thank you so much. I love doing this. I love podcasting, and I can't hold back any longer. So let's roll right into it. 15 Days of Breakaway, third annual. Here we go. Let's talk some breakaway roping. Okay, guys, so today we are here with number 10, back number this year, Jackie Crawford, coming in with $85,239 and 96 rodeos. Jackie, congratulations on your third NFBR back number.
Thank you.
It's pretty exciting. We were just kind of sitting here reminiscing about the year and all of the things that kind of came with it. And I had asked Jack a little bit ago, I said, hey, what was your turning point? And she said, hey, I know what it was. It was Calgary. So let's jump right in with that. Let's talk about your year in 2023 and kind of how it was going, and then talk about your turning point there.
I feel like I had kind of clipped along, won a little bit at most of the winter rodeos and just hadn't really had a big break yet, but had been pretty consistent about winning little things here and there. And then I had a pretty good break right before we left Texas, won El Paso and placed at Big Spring. I placed at a couple of Texas rodeos before we left. But then, so I was setting pretty good. I'm not sure the number, but I was in the top 15. But then as I start watching, of course, I don't know, I guess there's something that I love about firsts, right? Like I love everything about firsts. And so that we finally get to go to Calgary, and there's just something so exciting about getting to be in the inaugural year of things. And so come down to it, and it was such an exciting rodeo, and it was so exciting for us breakaway ropers, and just really was able to, everybody kind of turned it on in the last round. It was fun to battle against, my buddy Taylor Munsell, and she was so fast, and then come back just trying to beat her and got so close. I can't remember the times, like 1.7, 1.8, I think is what it, or 1.8, 1.9. I can't remember. It's really fast, and getting to win first and second, but I did end up second there. And that kind of, I think it was like a $10,000 step right there. So after that, I thought, okay, we're in a good spot. We just need to coast along the rest of the year and kind of keep clipping them. But Calgary was a big step for me. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's been something that you and I have both been on the roller coaster ride of the inaugurals. There is nothing like the first, and just that atmosphere when you walk into the venue, the just meeting the committees, all of the things that come along with it, performing, competing, winning. It all goes hand in hand, and I think that's so cool. But one thing special about Calgary was that was a first for us, but we really didn't have a whole lot of time there. I remember talking to you in the parking lot. We all came from Salt Lake City the night before, and we got to rope 2 there, which was awesome. And then we drove straight through to Calgary, and we got there and pulled in, and we had about 2 hours minus until tea time. And we roped, and then we turned around and we went back to Sheridan, Wyoming. So we didn't have a whole lot of time, but you got stuck in traffic. Talk about your parking experience at Calgary, Jack.
Yeah. Well, we did. We took off from Salt Lake. We were towards the end of Salt Lake. Some of the girls in our rig were towards the end of Salt Lake. So we jumped rigs, jumped in, and we're traveling in a bus. So we tend to travel a little slower than most, as much as we try. But we had to get the horses off once. Well, none of us had actually ever crossed the border. This is going to be so embarrassing to tell you. None of us have actually crossed the border with horses. So we have no idea what we're doing. We get to the border, and the guy says, pull up. Well, we got wires crossed. So we sit there, we're waiting for the people to come out there on us for a while. And I think you pulled up behind us and got out. And I saw you across the road and you went in the little deal. And here in a second, a little bit, you come out and y'all get in and you take off. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, now we're past again. And finally we're like, okay, we're just going to go ask them. And then sure enough, we were supposed to walk in there. None of us knew it. They all said, pull up there in the parking lot and whatever. Everybody thought that, you know, there was a trucker over there. He's like, oh, they're going to come out here. But nobody ever came to get us. And then, of course, some of our paperwork, we had to get a hold of the vets. It was right, but we didn't have, the vet didn't send the right thing in the packet. I don't know. So it took forever at the border, on our fault all the way. And so we blast in there and we get there and we're getting there right in time for the meeting. And as we get there for the meeting, you know, there's a lot of cars and stuff in there, a lot of rigs, whatever. Well, the parking guy sends us and he's like, go down here and you take turn, which is fine. But we're in the bus again and we get to this corner and we can't make it. We can't make the corner in this bus. So now we are blocking cars in every which way. We've got traffic stop. We're blocking cars in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible. And so I called and I'm like, okay, guys, listen, we're trying to get to this meeting, but we've got cars blocked. We can jump out of this bus. We will make the meeting in time, but we've got traffic stopped, whatever. So anyways, we ended up sending people to get our packets, and me and LD ended up backing this bus out. Nobody's fault. We're just the stupid, sometimes the buses are really inconvenient when it comes to making corners in different places. So yeah, we did get stuck and we backed everybody up, and it was totally our fault. But it was funny. We joked about it and joked with the parking people and stuff. And it was we got it all situated though and got parked. But yeah, it was nuts. I really wanted to spend more time there and kind of get to take it all in. But yeah, we just blew in there and then had to go right back out and up at Sheridan. So yeah, didn't get to spend a whole lot of time, but it was still a really, really cool experience just to be up there and be a part of the first of it.
Fast and Furious for sure. And talk a little bit about the rope and setup. You know, it was a really cool setup, tournament style. Everybody got 2, and then you advanced as it came. I think they brought 8 back, and then it was a 4-man round. And so it didn't get that fast until the end, but the last round was wicked fast. Talk a little bit about that round, progressing as you came along. You know, I think 2 won the first round, 2 won the second round, but it was a fast setup. And then everybody kind of got the flow of it, and then they really took off and dove right in. So talk a little bit about that and what it was like advancing from each round and kind of opening that setup.
Well, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a fast setup, but they brought 2 different sets of calves that were totally opposite sets of calves, which is really kind of fun because we all roped the very first set blind. We had no idea what they were going to do. And so it was kind of get by the first set. And then they brought in a older set of roping calves on the second round that was a little bit more predictable. But then once you got to watch those 2 sets once, you kind of got to know what the calves did a little bit. And you did get the feel of it. And so it just kind of kept snowballing and it got faster and faster and faster. And so, it was just a really neat setup, and having to go back and forth between the 2 different cattle was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I did too. And it's something we hadn't really seen before, roping 2 different sets. So I thought that was really cool. And the hospitality of Calgary, just really sweet. Like I said, we hope next year we get to spend a little bit more time there and enjoy it just a second more than we did this time, but it was super neat. So you had about a $28,000 month in July. I think we've heard so many times that July 4th is the Cowboy Christmas, which it is, but it seems like the whole month of July is a July 4th. Like every day in July is July 4th. So that is a great month to get tapped off and really go at it. Talk a little bit about how that carried into your momentum. You know, after you have a win like that, does that give you confidence? Does that propel you forward? Do you feel like you kind of get on a roll? Like talk through that and how that kind of all came together.
Well, I think when I left home, I hit a good lick and then stayed roping pretty good. Kind of had a mishap at Reno the day that I roped and made a great run to probably win first or second, no less than third, but according to everyone else, they thought first. Made a great run for the first round at Reno, and the timers weren't ready and they missed my time. And it was fine. Like, I'm not going to throw a fit about it. It's human error. Nobody means to do that. Nobody was out to sabotage anything. Like, obviously it was just a mistake, you know? And it's funny because we're always in a rush to get in the box and get ready, because that's one of our biggest issues as breakaway ropers, is getting in, getting ready, and getting it done so that we can stay within our time frame. And the judges were ready, and it was just a miscommunication between the judges on the ground and the timers in the deal, and they missed the run. Long story short, it didn't happen. Calf was tricky the second time. It just didn't work. Like I said, the first run was just a calf ended up being better than he was, and it just worked. But second time didn't work as good. And so I was like, dang it, is this the beginning of some bad luck? But went on and went from there and just kept plugging away. And the one thing that I've taken away from rodeo is that don't let the lows get too low. You know, when something like that happens, or you don't win for a little bit, don't let it get too low. It's gonna turn around unless you keep digging yourself in that hole. And so just after that, just kept plugging along. And then when the ball finally turned, you know, and started heading my way, I just kind of kept clipping a little bit, had some lucky shots happen. But I was like, hey, had some unlucky things happen, had some lucky shots happen, I'll take them, right? And as you do that, as you win a little bit here and there, I think that it takes some of the pressure off that you put on yourself, and you don't make it, like I said, don't make the lows too low. But then as you're winning enough and feeling good about it, you also don't let the highs, the fear of not being high enough get too big either. You just kind of learn to go with the flow. And so just kind of let myself keep winning a little bit here and there. And so, yeah, July was good. July's crazy because,
and Paige,
it's the Cowboy Christmas. But then the next week or 2 weeks after that, the rodeos are even bigger than Cowboy Christmas, and there's more of them. And it's like, okay, which one is really Cowboy Christmas for us? You know, and which I know it's a little different for the breakaway ropers still because of the rodeos. But July's a good month for sure.
Well, and I heard Paige Lawrence told me one time, you know, you're going to get good breaks and you're going to get bad breaks. And so they're going to come one way or another, and just be ready to anticipate those. And that's something that's really stuck with me. Wife of Richmond champion, I think that they've seen that as well. And it really does. It applies. You know, you're going to get good breaks. You're going to get bad breaks. We're all humans. We make errors. At least they missed your time. I almost ran over the judges at Pendleton because they weren't ready. And they missed my time there. So that was fun. I got to run him twice on the grass, but at least you didn't almost hit the judge. So that was good.
Yeah, they were really worried that I was going to be extremely mad. And I was like, it's not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
Again.
Just let me run him again. Why don't you?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that that's cool. One of the things I want to talk a little bit about that I think is something that everybody has seen. You know, you're 2020 World Champion, come back in 21. You don't make it in 22. But that was like almost the biggest blessing in disguise because, oh, yeah, by the way, you won $600,000 at the American. So talk a little bit about coming off of that year. You know, you came in, you fought to the end. You didn't make the NFR. You come back. You fight, you come back, kick butt, win the American. That starts your year off with a bang, and then it sends you off, and here you are getting your third back number. So talk a little bit about that and how you overcame that.
Oh, you know, they say that you learn way more from your failures than you do your wins. And I can honestly say that is 100% true, because that is losing like that year, man. Which I said, like, I don't want this to ever come across like ungrateful. I still had a great year. I won the American the year before, you know what I mean? The year before. So that's a great year. You know what I mean? But when you go to as many rodeos and your expectation that I had for myself fell so short at those rodeos, it's a slap in the face, you know? And for me, it was a good thing because it opened my eyes, and it honestly, I tend to draw, this might be terrible, but I'll draw a lot of, what do you call it? I draw a lot of inspiration off of being pissed off. And so I was pissed off. And so I went home and I started trying to revamp my horse herd. I tried to get better physically because I knew there's only so many things that you can fool yourself into having confidence about, right? you can tell yourself all day long, you can have a positive mindset. If you don't have the conviction of the things that you're doing on a daily basis, of the things that you're taking care of your body about, of the things that you're putting in the work in the practice pen, you cannot fool yourself into having confidence in that. It only runs for so long. And so I had to go back and get to work. I had to go back and restructure some things. I quit doing clinics. I quit doing private lessons, which I don't like. I want to be able to do that stuff, but I also don't want to spend these next 4 or 5 years that I'm giving myself at this, if even that, half cocked either. And that's what I was doing. I'd been running on half tilt for years, relying on the work that I'd put in previously. And, T-Boy went down. T-Boy was kind of my go-to for 10 years. I won so much on that horse. And so he went down. I had to bring Kevin. Kevin's great. I've won a lot of money on Kevin. But I felt like my horse string suffered. I felt like my physical ability suffered. My practice sessions suffered because all I was doing, I was still out there. I was still out there all day, but I was not putting in the work. I wasn't putting in the work of actually practicing for myself. It was, I got to hurry up so that so-and-so can rope. I need to help so-and-so rope. I need to go do this for this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to go, the kids, the Charlie, like whatever it may be. It was just too many things. And so I had to cut out the things that I can be replaced at. And for now, obviously, you can be replaced as a wife, but I don't want to be replaced as a wife. And you can't be replaced as a mother, though, right? So I want to be a mother.
Right. They're stuck with you for life, at least, right?
Yeah. So I had to cut out the things that I could be replaced at, and delegate those, and learn that I can't do everything, because that was a slap in the face. Like, I can't do everything, So I had to get back to the grind, get back to work, and really get honest with myself, physically, mentally. The day in, day out. And I'm not anywhere close to where I'm headed. I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be, but we're better than we were. And I won't ever let myself fall into a place of complacency or not prioritizing the things that matter right now. And so that's where we're at. And it's looking up, but it's always a progress, I think, always a process.
It is. And that's one thing, like, I love a few things about what you just said, right? So instead of it being like a failure, or yes, it's always going to be a slap in the face because we are just a weak competitive. But it's like you used it for the good, you used it for your good. You used it as motivation, you used it as inspiration. I loved how you were like, hey, I was honest with myself. And man, when you sit down and you do that, that is, for me at least, that's one of the hardest things to do, is be like, hey, am I doing too much? Or am I hurting myself here? Or am I overcommitted? Am I undercommitted? Asking yourself back and forth those questions, it's huge. And then it's like, okay, here's the questions. Here's the info. Now what are you going to do with it? You're going to make the decision. The decision's even harder to make because it's like you're losing so much that was comfortable. But then it's like, well, what about all the stuff that you have to gain? So it's like such catch-22. So walk us through like some of the things, because I know every woman out there has to have felt this or feel this at some point in time, as whether you're a professional breakaway roper, a mom, a wife, a sister, a job owner, whatever it may be. Like, I feel like we all relate to that in some sort of fashion. So talk about kind of how obviously you became honest with yourself because you didn't accomplish one of your goals, but then talk through that process of how you were honest, how you delegated, and how you made some of those choices.
Well, like I said, I definitely cutting out doing clinics and private lessons. That was kind of my way I made a living, but I've had to step back and figure something else out because that did take a lot of time out of my days. So I had to cut that out. I've learned to say no and not feel guilty about it. I'm not great at it yet, but I have gotten better at, hey, I can't do that, or I don't have time for that, or hey, we're busy, or hey, we need family time right now, or we need whatever. I've gotten better about that, and that's not my nature. I want everybody to come over. I want everybody to, whatever. You know how I am. I'm just like, hey, come on. I'd love to do whatever, and I'll help, whatever. But I have had to learn to say no and be okay with that, and know that it's not out of meanness, and not feel guilty about saying no, knowing that that's the best thing for my family and myself. So learning to say no and not let it bother me has been a big process.
Right.
The other big thing that I've done is, and it's something that I preach all the time, is that you got to have a purpose in your practice. You got to have a purpose in, what you're trying to do in that day, not just where for years I'd gotten where I was in a hurry and my mind was somewhere else and I was wondering where the kids were and I was all over the place and, hey, are they okay? Where are they at? Is she awake? Is she, like whatever, that I never stopped and focused during the practice run. So now, as I don't have as many people coming into rope or, so many things that I have to do, I'm delegating. Like this morning, I delegated, all right, I'm roping from no matter what, from 10 to noon. All right. Or 10 to 12:30, however long it takes me. That's my time. And during that time, I need to have a focus on what I'm doing that day, not just going through the motions and hurrying up and seeing how fast I can get done because I got to go do this. I've got to prioritize that, because for me, that stuff is what's going to catapult me to winning, and winning is what carries a lot of these other things that I'm wanting to accomplish. So I had to stop and make those practice sessions meaningful and more structured and know what I was going to do. Charlie's always on me about getting films because films don't lie. And so I've tried to get
Too bad they don't lie.
Yeah, to film me more so that I can go back and watch it and have a game plan for the next day. So different things like that have really, really worked in my practice schedule. And then physically, let's be honest. I mean, I lost 30 pounds. I'd had 2 kids. I'd let, my physical stuff get out of control. I was, I hit 40. I could tell a big difference. And as you're transitioning the things that you do used to, everybody gives me heck because they're like, oh, you can't even saddle your own horse. Well, it's like, yeah, I used to saddle my own horse all the time. But as you shift your responsibilities and you learn to delegate the things that you can be replaced at, that's also physical things that I used to do. I mean, I used to be outside, like as I'm changing these things, I used to do physical labor all day long and I was always an athlete. And so I was always strong. I could tell after 2 kids and changing responsibilities all day, I was weak. For me, I was weak. I could tell when I grabbed a hold of a bale of hay. I mean, used to just grab the bales of hay and walk, you know what I mean? Grab 2 if you want to walk. Like, it didn't matter. And I could tell such a difference in my strength and my core strength. And so I had to get serious about my diet. I had to get serious about my workouts. And, a good friend, Taylor Bunsell, would come and stay. And she's big on streak training because she's had some issues with her shoulder and things like that. And so I did start strictly strength training, and it's helped us so much. I feel like it's helped me so much to get back to feeling strong. I feel like it's helped my riding more. I feel like my old self a little bit more. And so that part has been really good for me too.
Well, and I love the fact that all of those things, but it all ties in together. And then you can always have a narrow pathway, because I do feel as women, maybe just speaking for myself a little bit of yours, like you want to do all the things and you want to be involved in all the things. Plus, oh yeah, I want to be a world champion. And it really doesn't happen that way consecutively over and over again. And I think that, myself included, same thing, so I think you have to be very strict. I heard a quote the other day. It was on Ed Milet's podcast, and it said, be relentless about removing things from your schedule that don't matter. And I was like, I'm going to try that. And I mean, I was just like crossing things off like nobody's business, that it was crazy. And so anyway, I think that that's pretty neat. Let's get back to roping a little bit. That was a little bit of a side note, but I wanted to tell that. What are some of the things, as you've seen, you've been down the rodeo road these last 4 years. We've seen all the trends, the transitions, there's a whole new group every year coming into the NFR, which I think is so cool and such a testament to our sport on how tough it is out there. If you could give some advice, some feedback to those young ladies that are coming in, wanting to come up and be professional ropers, maybe, in the youth, the teens, fixing to buy their permit, what's some advice you would give as they're coming into the sport?
Oh, Jordan, it's such a broad spectrum question, which, I was thinking about it too, it's so cool. Like you said, there's new groups at the NFR every year. But it's so funny because you still see the same group as well that started from the very beginning still in there. And it makes me so happy to see that the girls that started this are just as competitive now as the girls coming up, and the girls coming up are so amazing. Like this young generation is so unbelievable. I mean, they keep me on my toes. I'm thinking, man, I like, what the heck? They're so talented, and the opportunity for these girls is just so fun to watch. But I just think that for girls coming up, oh man, there is no way around it. There is no shortcuts in this industry. There are no shortcuts. There's nothing that's going to take the place of the work that you have just got to put in. If you want to be at the top of the game, you're not going to be able to buy your way there. You're not going to be able to talk your way there. You're not going to, nothing. Like the work that has to go in, the grind it is not glamorous. It's got to happen, but it's so worth it. I mean, I guess the reward that comes not only from the material things that you will get from this industry, but the reward that you get on the inside of knowing that you're in one of the toughest industries and you've put in the work day in, day out to be successful in it. That is such a fulfilling feeling inside of yourself. And I think that if you can do that, it carries into anything else that you want to do. You know, whatever you want to do after this, or whether you want to do this the whole time or not, the work that you will put in to catapult yourself to the top of this game can never be replaced by anything else. And it is just the most amazing feeling that makes you feel like you can literally do anything. I guess that's
and that kind of leads me to my next question a little bit. And I want to deep dive here just a little bit, because we know you as Jackie Crawford. You know, Garrett Yergin announces you as the Queen of Breakaway. We call you Jack. Can't repeat it. You know, you're known as several different things. You're the first at many things, and you've been one of the faces of Breakaway. You know, it is pretty cool. There's 3 ladies that made the first NFR. This is their 4th consecutive NFR. Like, how
so
cool is that?
So cool.
And there's several ladies that have their 3rd consecutive title. I mean, and I don't mean title, but their qualification. I mean, it's astronomical. There's not a whole lot of rookies coming in, but I feel like they're not rookies because they roped with us since they were little. So I'm like, they're not rookies. They've been here forever. But I think it's pretty cool. But one of the things I think that people don't really know about you is kind of where you started, you know, because you have worked so hard. You have 24, is it now, world titles? Is that correct?
23.
It was about to be 22 if I would have tied that one calf just a little bit faster. I was going to get it, and you were going to win second. But next year, I'm already practicing, so be prepared.
Oh, you got to jump on me. I'm not going to.
Yeah, I know it. I know. When we talk about putting in the work, we'll see.
I know. Here with
I'm just kidding.
Lie.
But I want you to talk about where you came from, because I think that that's a story that not very many people know, where Jackie Hobbs started. You know, I have this really cool picture. If you want to direct message me, and I'll send it to you, but I'll only text it to you, of the original Jackie Crawford with her below the face. No, I'm just kidding. Talk a little bit about where you came from and kind of how this all started for you.
Oh gosh. So, I actually was born in the North. I was born in Illinois, and I grew up a little racetrack junkie. I was a little race rat kid. I grew up on the racetrack. And then my mom and I moved to Oklahoma when I was like 11. But when we lived in Illinois, I rode my whole life from the time I was, as soon as I could ride. I was like Journey right now. But up there, basically, I just did speed events. There wasn't a whole lot of roping that, number one, I had access to. Number two, it just wasn't as big up there for kids. And so I did like barrels and poles and the flag race and all the things. And so then when we moved to Oklahoma, my mom took me to some junior rodeos, and I saw these kids that were roping, and I was like, oh my gosh, now that looks more like my jam. I like that, because I'm just kind of naturally a tomboy. And when I saw that the girls could enter with the boys in the breakaway roping, I just thought that was so cool. So I turned this little ratty barrel horse I had into it took forever. I mean, I circled the arena, swinging a rope, trying to get this thing to let me swing a rope on her. And eventually got this little crazy little thing turned into a rope horse. And I'm talking about like it took a minute. It was a process. I mean, I was not the coolest cat at the rodeo, to say the least. Yeah, not the coolest cat at the rodeo, but I tried hard. And but I finally did. My mom told me, she's like, if you'll get where you can, we got it going. I got where I'd swing the rope and I'd do okay. And we got the horse where I could halfway take it through the barrier and after the calf. Anyways, I entered this junior rodeo, and it was the luckiest thing, Jordan. I caught. And so I won some money, and it was like, oh, heck, I got this roping thing down. Well, typical kid, my mom's like, all right, well, summer came about. If you practice real hard all summer and rope the dummy a lot, because we didn't have an arena, we didn't have calves, nothing like that. But if you'll rope the dummy, when it comes back to high school or junior rodeos or whatever it was, that I'll enter you again. Well, I thought I roped the dummy, enough. When it came time to enter, my mom was like, no. If I don't see some freaking effort, like, above and beyond effort, I'm not doing this. So that was kind of a kick in the butt. And and it kind of lit my fire a little bit. And so from then on, we kind of went to work. She didn't let me high school rodeo my freshman year. By my junior year, I got to high school rodeo. And like, I was that person that set my hat on the back of my head and nodded and knocked it off. And like, we didn't have a whole lot, if that makes sense. One thing I will say is that my mom worked her butt off to just try to give me opportunities. And we didn't have the best stuff. I mean, we drove down the road in a truck with no AC. We didn't have a living quarters. The dual was ripped off. I was that person. And I'd show up and stay the weekend and brush your teeth in like a jug, and I slept out on a lawn chair or whatever. And it was okay. Like that was okay for me. I knew that it, probably got made fun of or whatever. And obviously looked at all this stuff and at times thought, how the heck am I going to compete with these girls that have these such good horses and their tack's so nice and their rig's so big and they got to sleep all night in this nice rig and take a shower and do all this stuff. And that, you think about it, but at the same time, I want to be that person that always sees the glass half full, right? In that time, it taught me to appreciate the things I had. When I did get good enough that someone would give me a product or trust me to endorse their product, I don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? I'm going to take care of that thing. I'm going to cherish that thing because you believe in me and I know what it means to have that thing or not have that thing. I try to say all the time, like, try to look at every shortcoming you have as something that's building your character for the future and what God has in store for you in the future, not where you're at right now, because it's no different than, we couldn't afford to buy hay just out of the feed store or buy hay and have them deliver it. I think some people, you don't even think about that stuff. We had to buy the hay in the field. We'd drive a truck, borrow a trailer, and we'd go get as much hay. Well, my mom wasn't the one stacking it. You know what I mean? So, not that she didn't, she did obviously, but right. I was the one as a kid out there throwing the bales of hay, stacking the bales of hay out of the field. And I was the one that, in all these things, but at the time you're like, golly, I wish we had enough money to let somebody else do this. But as you look back on it, it was like, I grew up strong, right? I was strong for a girl and athletic for a girl. And that helped me in so many ways in the future. And so I have to look at all those things, and no matter what's going on in my life now, it's still, I got to look back and think, at the time in my life back then, I thought that was something hard, or it wasn't fair, or I didn't have enough or whatever. And it always was preparing me for something bigger. And so even to this day, you have to look at that and think, man, this is just a preparation for something that God has in store for me later. And so anyways, get on my soapbox. But after that, as I was in high school, I liked playing sports too. I blew my knee out playing basketball, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to play basketball or I wanted to rodeo. I worked hard, really hard, but it was like, I don't know which one I want to do. But after I blew my knee, I was like, I don't think I'm fast enough. I don't think I jump high enough. I mean, where am I going to go with this basketball deal? Even I had a couple like small offers from like small colleges and stuff, which was great. But I really kind of knew after that it was like, all right, this is where my place is in the roping world. I was able to, my mom hauled me my junior year to high school rodeos, and I won state that year. And so it's kind of like, all right, I see where this is pointing me to. So thank goodness that there are so many people in this world that are willing to help people out, because I never owned a calf. I never had an arena. We didn't even have a house that had most of my high school, we lived in a house and rented like a couple of lots for our horses, and we'd drive in between. Then I'd drive and go try to rope, and then I'd come back and I'd put them up. And there was so many nights where they'd find me pulled over on the side of the road to unload my horses where my horses go, and I'd just be dead asleep in the truck, just exhausted, because then I'd start basketball practice in the morning. But there were so many people willing to help and let you come and learn and use their things, and just so grateful for those people. And that continued my whole life, because people is what helps you and catapults your life into things. And so as I went on and went to college at Vernon and learned so much. I mean, I got my butt literally kicked my first year of college at Vernon. And again, a learning process. It was awesome because I put myself amongst I had offers to go closer to home, but something about me, I just thought Texas and the Southwest region to me was the toughest there was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to be around the toughest. I want iron to sharpen iron. I want to go against these girls and learn, and I'm either going to make or break it, So I took a lesser offer to go to Vernon, got my butt kicked the first year. I looked ridiculous. I mean, I placed more in the goat tying than I did in the breakaway, if that tells you anything, Jordan. Okay. So,
ooh, nanny slammer. Yeah. Hello.
Oh yeah. Well, it was just, I said more. It wasn't anything impressive. But so then, but learning curve got thrown to the wolves, different setups, different things than I'd ever seen. But my second year, I was able to come back, win the region and win the college finals and won the nation. And so just learning curves along the way, and met some incredible people and was surrounded by incredible people that just again, helped in every way. And then went from there to Stephenville. I was able to win the college region all 3 years after that, and did really good at the college finals. And so after that, again, people just helped along the way. Larry D, I was able to go work for Larry D, and taught me so much, about horsemanship and winning. And I got to ride some really great horses, and then struck out on my own. But yeah, it's been definitely did not come from anything. I know that now life is definitely easier than it's ever been in certain ways. But it dang sure didn't start from that. And we didn't have any safety nets of any sort when we were trying to do this. So it's fun now.
Well, and I love and appreciate you telling that story, because the biggest thing I think is I knew and know a little bit about your story, but I just wanted to share that with everybody, because if you ever think I can't do it, I won't measure up, there's no way I can get there, and you're overwhelmed before you even get started, there's so many people that have come from so many different places, and it all looks different for everybody. And so if you can relate in any form or fashion, I just want anybody out there to know that, if you do want to do it, you can do it. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. Are there going to be a lot of challenges? Most certainly. But it can be done in any form or fashion, no matter where you started, where you came from, or anything. And so I just think that that's pretty cool. And a lot of people, I don't think, knew that. So I'm glad you shared it. But let's circle back around and let's tie this thing up. We are headed to your third NFR. What does it look like preparation-wise? Do you set up the box? Do you order 200 ropes? What does that look like, and how do you get ready?
So my preparation right now is I did set up my box dimensions exactly the same. I got a load of calves in that I thought matched kind of what the calves were that we broke in. So I got my calves good. I'm getting them kind of broke into where they're going to trying to get them where they leave true. I've been competing since we got home. I've strictly rode Hail Mary, trying to get more with her and kind of get some timing down with her, and everything's been feeling pretty good. I've got a new little horse that I've been hauling and trying to get with. And I've actually been heading on Kevin ever since Sioux Falls. So Kevin had a new job ever since Sioux Falls, and I just ran the first breakaway calves on him today. and he actually felt really good. So maybe his time off to do something different helped. Not that he was doing anything wrong. It just, I rode him at the American when he was 5 years old. And I trained him since he was 2. And so just to let him do something different. But, so my preparation is, I'm trying to I have one practice horse. I'm just trying to make sure that I get anywhere from 10 to 20 runs a day. Whether that be for my horse or for me, it's not as many as probably I would like to get. But at the same time, I think that I'm doing so much better now off of quality than quantity. I'm learning how to make that a lot more important. So yes, I'll make as many runs as I can. I'm trying to get everything filmed again, starting now. But starting next week for sure, and probably this week in the next couple of days, I will start getting every run filmed. I'll study every run. I will set up and put in, right now I have a pre-fruit calf chute in. I'm going to put in a regular pre-fruit chute, and I'll set a barrier up, and I'll start running behind a barrier pretty soon on each horse, so that I know I have 3 horses prepared to go out there: Hail Mary, Kevin, and the new Bay. And so I'll be getting them behind the barrier and just kind of measuring my runs off on each calf and see who I'm faster on, who I'm more consistent on, and who just feels the best, and kind of start putting them in line. And then, I've kind of started getting my ropes together. I've got some stretch sitting there curing in my saddle house. So I'll start getting all those cut off and ready. But pretty much, this year it seems like it's more kind of stay ready than get ready, I guess. I've felt pretty good about it, but I do need to do some sharpening and some some tuning on some horses and whatnot. So it feels a lot better though.
So talk to me a little bit about, I love how you said, I'm not getting ready, I'm staying ready. And I think that that's key. And I think that that's something that really you have to do today in our industry, in our profession, because the level of excellence is bar none. So when you're setting up your runs, you're getting runs at home, you're also going out to these jackpots. You're also roping with other girls that you're going to be roping with at the NFR or anybody else. Do you feel that there's a difference? Like, do you feel you are sharper when you go to these jackpots and rope and get behind a barrier? Or do you feel like you can be equally as sharp just roping at home and then show up at the NFR? Talk through that process a little bit.
I mean, I feel like you can be sharp for sure at home. But I think that going and competing and entering will really show you where you have any holes. It'll show you where maybe your home setup is maybe masking some things. It'll show you, that's going away from home is going to show you and expose your holes and your weaknesses. And so I think it's really important to stay going. Even on the good horses, I'm trying to make sure I still go enough on them that I know, all right, when I get away from home, this is what's happening. So I got to fix this, or I need to go somewhere and pay for a stock charge, or do whatever I have to do to feel confident when I leave the house. Because I do think that going away and entering some other stuff exposes things. And I'm trying to get my American spots.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Did you get your American spots?
I did. I got it.
Ooh.
So my theory that I'm looking at is I am coming in 10th, which I love the American. Obviously, I love the American. Okay. But,
really? Who would have thought it?
I'm coming in 10th, and I'm looking at the top 5. And for what our finals pays, I would have to win 20 something grand at our finals and 1st through 5th not win $1, or 5th place not win $1, right? In order to be in the top 5. So I'm playing the odds. I guess that I would rather go ahead and spend the money to get all of my spots at the American. And then just say, well, if I end up in the top 5, it means that I had one heck of a finals. So whatever, I made that money back, right? But the odds are I won't be in the top 5. So I have gotten I've got points positions as of right now in the West, because I entered the Open before Pendleton and did my American spots. I now have, after Saturday, I have an American spot in the Central and a point spot as of right now. And then I am going to go to the Southeast Mega Open 2 days after Thanksgiving. Yes, I'm going the opposite way of Vegas by a long shot. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to get my East spot. So I'm going to try to have spots again in all 3 regions.
Really good just to stay sharp, for me. And I just like to listen to everybody's perspective, because some people are staying sharp, making the runs at home, and then they're showing up and they're showing out. Some people are trying to get as many runs as they possibly can behind a barrier with just normal ropers and all the atmosphere. Everybody's different, and so I think we can all glean something from everybody's perspective and the way they do it. Let's talk a little bit about pro fantasy rodeo. You know, obviously being the American champ several times, you're partial to pro fantasy. There's always a games at the American. Teton Ridge presents a games on breakaway roping. You were probably a huge contributor to somebody's team when you won the American. So talk about the Breakaway Pro Fantasy Games out at the South Point in Las Vegas. We were looking over the payday earlier. Whoever wins first place out there is going to win $10,000. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, I said that it's so crazy to me that you can play a game from home and possibly win more money than a lot of us are going to win at our own finals. So you're going to walk away from the breakaway finals with more than the breakaway ropers, a lot of breakaway ropers, because it's not the money's not built up.
Become a breakaway roper, they said. Yeah. It'll be fun, they said.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And then I think it's cool. I think that game's fun because as in any sporting event or any genre, it's just always funner to have a dog in the fight, right? And so if you've got your money against or not for someone, you know, you definitely, it always makes the anticipation and watching it a lot funner. So I think that's just a cool deal.
Well, and it's good for everybody. Everybody gets to play. You can play at home, you can play in the stands, but then you can't really get back there to the contestants, right? So if somebody's on your team, you need to whip them into shape or whatever, you can't really get to them, or if they're doing good, vice versa. You know, so everybody's safe all at once, except for if you're on my team, you're not safe. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I'm excited about playing. I think it's super fun, and just the fact that they're supporting us and behind us, I love that. And it's just another fun thing to do while you're out in Las Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Casey and Gail have been so good for the rodeo industry, and you know, they're so good to the breakaway ropers. They've always been, you know, supporters and just always had kind words for us. So yeah, I love being able to back them.
Okay, y'all. So it turns out winter is here. It's that time of year again, and yet we are still breakaway roping. So what do you do to try to keep your ropes feeling as consistent as you possibly can? You put the Regulator Pro in your rope bag or your rope can. What is it? It is a heated pad that you can stick in your rope bag. You can stick it in your rope can. You plug it in to a cigarette lighter, to a wall plug, and your ropes feel amazing in the wintertime. I love it. I have one in all of my rope bags, in all of my rope cans. I take it with me everywhere, and it keeps your ropes feeling as consistent as possible. So if you want to get one today, check out the website, regulatorpro.com, and you can use my code JordanJoe to save 10%. It is one of the best $100 investments that you will ever make to get ready to be successful and set yourself up the next time you back in the box. Now, speaking of that, let's get back to some breakaway roping talk.
That we have for everybody this year. If your future self could give you any piece of advice today, what does she tell you?
My future self.
Future Jackie tell Jackie today?
Seize the moment. Seize the moment. Don't get too busy. My future self would say it's the little things that are going to make up to the big things. Don't ever take the little things for granted. Just enjoy every moment of it.
I love that. Very good. Future you's pretty smart. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, Jackie, congratulations on your third consecutive NFBR. Can't wait to watch you rope out in Vegas, and we'll see you out there.
All right. Thanks, Jordan.